have a little confession to make. You see, I wanted to start my talk with the claim that I speak to dead people. Now, obviously, that would kind of be a lie, just kind of meant to impress, so here is the truth. I do not speak to dead people. They just kind of talk to me. But to be clear, I do talk to the unborn. Okay, now, before you wonder where my straitjacket is, let me clarify. You don't need ESP or a ghost haunting to do what I do. All you really need is something like this. Something that can capture ideas in time. But you also need this, a mind capable of generating and expressing these ideas. When we put these two things together, we gain a unique way of communicating. I call this generational communication. It's very simple. The past talks to the present, and the present to the future. No more or less, but this alone is powerful. Today, I want to talk about this power and look at how generations communicate with each other through technology and human creativity. In part, I want to focus on what has yet to be said. Here's a seemingly simple question. What do we want to say to future generations? You see, each generation reaches a point of addressing this question, either collectively, individually, sometimes even unknowingly. And at this point, their answer, or the what, is only a part of the equation. The other important part is the how, as in, how do we share our answer? And that's where communication comes in. A simple information exchange. I have an idea, I turn that into a message, I share that message with others. It's a simple process, but it's also limited by space and time. If the message isn't preserved, it expires. But if I can capture that message on a piece of paper, a hard drive, in my head, then the ideas I'm communicating could probably outlast even all of us. Now, you can go far back in time to see how previous generations answered this question. 40,000 plus years ago, where they depicted great stories and events on the canvas of a cave wall. Looking back this far, it's important. It gives us perspective on where we've come from. But things also really get interesting the closer we get to the present. I sometimes forget that what I say now is going to become generational to those born next year, or month, or week, or even tomorrow. If each generation spans roughly 2 decades, this creates a lot of overlap in the present, where we have some generations that remember events firsthand, and others who only learn about said events through communication and technology. This simply means that we don't have to wait that long for our answers to begin to matter. Even in the first 15 years of the new millennium, we have had this kind of communication. There's one event, a particularly recent, painful memory for the majority of us. This primarily being communicated through technology alone to anyone 13 and under today. I have 3 nieces and 1 nephew, all 4 who weren't around for 9/11. And yet all 4 can experience the same images that I experienced, that we experienced through technology. The fact is, we in the present have a past, and it extends beyond our own experience because of generational communication and technology. From the spoken word to written text, recorded audio to recorded visual, we have a history because that past had something to share. And future generations are going to be influenced by this past, including our contribution to it. This creates a lot of power and responsibility with what we say here and now. So, what do we want to say? I like to think that we're in a unique position in the present, and it's not just because we're alive and we can answer this question, but because we can express our answer in any number of ways. I'm talking about things like songs and poems and paintings, things that communicate ideas through art and the attempt to share something more than just the message itself. Creative expression communicates emotion and intent. It gives people something more to process and to remember, to feel. Here's an example. In preparing for my talk, I kind of naively thought that answering this question was going to be easy. But the plethora of possibility alone is almost overwhelming. I couldn't even decide between something general, like world peace is still possible, or something more specific to me, like those Star Wars prequels I grew up with really weren't all that bad, except for the acting and the storyline. Okay, but the lightsabers were cool. Anyways, I got to a point where I was less interested in my own answer and more interested in the possibilities. So I asked this very question to some of my communication students, and their answers were varied. Some were serious, humorous, personal, general, but there was an underlying theme with many of them that I thought, if expressed artistically, would make a good example of what I'm talking about. So I asked my question and then raced home, gathered up all my electronic devices, and started taking pictures. On the computer, I came up with this, a visual message that could survive for generations. Now keep in mind, I'm just repurposing answers so future generations could reinterpret unleash yourself in any number of ways. And that's the point. Generational communication is open to interpretation. We don't simply listen to or repeat what the past says. We take their ideas, we challenge them and change them, but we also embrace them. Quite often, we turn their ideas into something that we can pass along to our future generations. That is the power of generational communication. So in closing, there are a couple of ideas that I want to leave with everyone tonight. The first is a scale of possibility that comes with answering this question. Think about all the ideas that a human mind can generate, and now couple that with the limitless potential of creative expression. If we do this, I think we begin to challenge the old cliche, the sky's the limit. And considering we're about to see Pluto up close for the first time next month, I think there's something to that. The second idea is more of a personal connection to the question. It's a big world, and it can be easy to feel insignificant in it. But here's the thing about any kind of communication. You don't have to change that world for your words to matter. Sometimes it's enough to just influence a single individual, and we each have the opportunity to do just that. All right, so how do I want to answer this question? Well, for today at least, let me answer it with another question. To future generations, what are you going to say when the present is yours? And for everyone here, what do we want to say now? Thank you.